that's my like MO is to, ask somebody their title and then completely butcher it and then,
So is this your first time to Maine? Have you been to Maine before?
No. Oh, no, I've been to Maine before.
Okay.
We did Acadia when our son was when our first was a year old. And
yeah, I'll tell you a funny story when you're done.
I loved it. Hopefully your story is good because it's going to ruin my perception of it.
I've lived in Maine my entire life.
No, you've never been.
Ask me my first national park I've ever been to.
You probably went to Joshua Tree or something. Seriously?
With Matt and Lisa and Mike DiDonato.
That is insane.
That was the first one.
Have you been to since?
I would not tape that. People were fucking floored. They were like, "What do you mean you got one in your backyard?" I'm like, "Dude, it's 3 hours north.
Yeah.
I'm going 45 minutes north to camp, if that."
Yeah.
So I said, "I'm not going in the summertime in Bar Harbor. What are you nuts?" I said, "It's like a mob scene like that."
Truly. So we went, and this is probably people might think a certain way about this, but we went during COVID.
Oh, okay.
And so it was dead.
Yeah.
We literally showed up and did one of a cash only. I'm gonna have to show you the picture because we drove 14 hours.
Oh my God.
To Maine, and they weren't taking any reservations online, probably because they couldn't.
Right, yeah, they didn't want an influx of people. Yeah, you got to show up.
And so you literally had to show up and give them cash.
Oh my God.
Because I wonder if they were even allowed to be because I know campgrounds were closed down.
Yeah. This must have been that first summer, right? I mean, that during the summer.
No, it was actually 2021 because my son was a whole year old.
Wow.
But it was still pretty shut down up there. Maybe because it is so touristy that they were just listen, we're not going to have all these people flood in here. But let me show you our campsite. Literally, we showed up to this and that was our campsite. On the water.
Oh my God.
And we paid $15 a night for that. And now, we always say,
that's $1 billion view right there.
We can never go again.
No, it would ruin it.
We would have, it would be crowded. It would be
It's like going to a sporting event and sitting in the luxury suites.
Exactly.
And then going to sit in Gen Pop.
I'm going to have to,
Meg,
post these.
I won't do it. I won't. I refuse to go to, number one, I don't pay for professional sporting events.
Yep.
2, they better be damn good seats if I'm even sitting in Gen Pop.
True.
3, I've been to the luxury boxes too many times. I'm like, it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
to. That's good advice. I'm not going to ruin it for myself because we have. But yeah, this was just right outside our tent. It was insane, and we would literally be on the trail and not see another soul.
Ugh.
We went and did a Cadillac Mountain, drove right up, no traffic. It was so.
It's going to be hard to beat that experience.
Yes. So all's that to say, I've been to Maine, had the best experience ever, but this is my first time back. Well, I guess I came to Boston, right out of college. I came to Boston for a few nights for work.
Yeah.
But I was super intimidated, about the driving around here maybe Matt, scared me because he was like, you got to get out of Boston quick after you land. You're going to.
Yes. Massachusetts, I classify 3 or 4 states: Mass, Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. These people love to get in the left-hand lane and not use their rearview mirror to see who's behind them.
Yep.
They will go the speed, whatever speed they are, and they'll have 100 cars behind them, and there's nobody in 2 miles in front of them,
Jeez.
And they won't get the F out of the way.
Yeah.
And I have to drive both my boys go to Springfield College, and every time I cross that border and I get on the 495, I'm like, here we go. Yep. Sure enough, within a couple of miles, I'm getting behind somebody who's going 70, and everybody else is trying to go 80. And, but I've seen it in North Carolina. Virginia's like that. Pennsylvania can be like that. I'm like, what is wrong with people? Get out of the way. So it's just their driving style. The city itself, I don't usually have too many problems in the city. They're just, they're a little crazy, but aren't we all to an extent when you get into suburban areas like that? Urban areas?
Yeah. And the craziness is what scares me though. People just going so fast that if you don't know exactly where you're going, you're getting drilled off the road.
I mean, I've never driven in New York. I've driven in D.C. I've driven through D.C.
I've done D.C. I've somehow survived that.
Boston, obviously. Do you
want to know what's crazy? I see the goofy photo here on your Orlando traffic. It's like
Stay
supposed
out
to
of
be the
downtown
happiest
Orlando. Ooh,
place
stay out of
on
Orlando.
earth.
I-4.
Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare.
I avoid I-4 from the first entrance to Disney to, and I will avoid that at all costs because it's always jammed up. My sister and parents live in Tampa, and I mean I've done Tampa. Tampa's, you hit it at certain pockets, certain times of the day, it's going to be a mess. But what isn't?
Yeah.
So
Cleveland, Ohio. I'll tell you that.
Really?
We don't really, we really do not struggle with traffic. Like there's a few, spots where it's like, yes, this is obviously rush hour traffic, but I wouldn't even consider traffic. It's a slowdown.
Yeah.
You just can't go 15 over. But really, I can zip in and out of so many places with no trouble.
I mean, even Portland is becoming, number one, it's becoming a true destination for folks that want a vacation, especially from as a foodie, perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you can't get a hotel room in Portland for less than $500 in the summertime.
Jeez.
Forget about it. So the traffic, and my wife works in downtown. Now the picture right there from where I showed you my house is, with no traffic, and if I hit maybe one light, if I flew you in blindfolded by helicopter to my house, you'd think you were in northern Maine.
Okay, yeah.
Not knowing you're less than 10 minutes from downtown Portland.
From the ocean,
Like the middle of downtown Portland, I could have you there in 10 minutes.
That's wild.
And it could take her some days half hour, 40 minutes to get home.
Yeah.
Just because of the traffic coming in. Because we're when you look at, let me get rid of the thing there. So this whole, so here's downtown Portland.
Okay.
So what we call the peninsula is South Portland, Cape Elizabeth, and Scarborough.
Okay.
So you have average to moderate income, high income, moderate to high income.
Okay.
And they're all trying to go here.
Yep.
For a big part of them. And this is the Casco Bay Bridge. And this bridge
I think I just crossed it.
Yeah. All the traffic going into Cape Elizabeth and South Portland, people trying to go to the beach areas of Scarborough over here. I mean, it's the traffic on my road.
Where are we right now on that map?
Right there.
Okay.
So let's see if it will actually drop a pin every time I zoom out. So there's the airport. Okay. So when the wind's blowing out of the north, we're on the direct line of the flight path going into the airport for the alternate runway. I mean, these things have come over so low I could flip a wedge and hit the fuselage, I think, sometimes. Nice. That's how low off the deck they are.
That's wild.
So you can see in terms of the ocean, the southwest breeze. Yeah, wow. It is friggin' cold.
Brutal, yeah. Well, I did Pebble Beach 2 or 3 summers ago. Yep. For the women's U.S. Open.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I'm going to California. Like, it's going to be beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, was I in misery. Like, at night, they had us, staying in like dorm style because it was a bunch of volunteer crew people. And I was like, they've got to bring me 5 more blankets. Like, I was frigid. It was, and it was that breeze.
Pacific Ocean can be chilly, from what I understand.
Yeah, so. It was brutal.
But
now my chances of getting your title right are just out the window because.
Yeah, turf manager, field facilities manager. I get so many spam emails now, especially through LinkedIn, about facility management jobs, and it's amazing how they try to classify you because you have facilities and manager in your title or what you put on an email exchange. Even though it has different meanings in terms of what facility and what you're managing, it's like the computer recognizes it, so you get all this stuff. About being I had a guy reach out to me about paving. Jeez. And I'm like, okay. So I looked at the email and I said, what the hell am I looking at? I looked at it again. I go, this guy's based out of Portland, Oregon.
Oh my God.
So I got online and I said, maybe they're a national company. I don't know. Servicing Oregon and Washington. So then I'm like, okay, is there another South Portland in the United States? Sure enough, there's Portland, Oregon, and then there's
South Portland.
a South Portland. So I emailed the guy back. I couldn't resist. I'm like, hey, thanks for the email, but you do realize you're contacting a municipality in South Portland, Maine, not Oregon, right?
Oh, that's
Never
incredible.
heard crickets,
Nice.
Didn't hear anything.
He deleted that email real quick.
I had it. I was going to send it to a couple people. I'm like, how do we play this?
Oh, that's amazing.
Do we say, what time should we pick you up from the airport? What should we do this? And just kind of play around with it.
I love it.
I left it alone. So.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, outdoor athletic facilities manager. That's
well, look at that. We'll use that right there as the intro.
Right.
So welcome back, everyone, to our Groundskeeper Chat series. I am sitting in the office of Mr. Rick Perruzzi. Did I say the last name right?
Yeah, you did.
Look at that.
Yeah, in the U.S., yes. In Italy, it'd be Perruzzi, but...
Perruzzi.
Yeah, but
and
we're in the
Enrico
US.
Perruzzi.
Correct.
Look at that.
See.
I've been to Italy before, so now I can...
I'm really jealous.
Have you been? Or
Have not.
Okay.
We're in the beginning stages of planning a trip in May of 26.
Okay.
For a variety of reasons, but more specifically, as most people that may listen to this who know me, have known me for a while, that my son was diagnosed with lymphoma back in January of 23.
Oh my goodness.
And the one thing that he wanted to do when he finally got into remission was to go to Italy.
Well,
So
hell yeah.
That's
then
what we're trying to do.
You need to go.
I'm trying to say that without getting teared up. But
I
2
had no
months left.
idea.
2
I'm
months.
so sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
That's so remission means.
Yeah, technically he's in remission now. He's doing his maintenance treatments. He has
Okay.
2 months left, and then they'll do a final set of scans to make sure that everything's good
Yep.
and remove
And
the
then
port.
wheels up. You're
Yep.
going to Italy.
Yep. So
Oh
that's the
my
plan.
gosh! How old is your son?
He's a
So
fresh.
I see the two pictures here, and I was like, I don't know. He seems. I don't know if he. Those guys seem pretty young.
Yeah, he's a freshman in college at
Okay.
Springfield College, in
Okay.
Massachusetts. Yep.
And then your other son.
He's a senior at Springfield College, and
Okay.
he'll be graduating in May. And ironically, the day of his graduation is the same day my youngest son Andrew takes his last chemo pill.
Wow! So it's going to be a beautiful day for you guys.
Yes. Yep.
Well, we'll all be cheering for you and definitely saying prayers that that's a day of celebration.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And I will say, Italy would be the perfect place to celebrate that.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And so, what are your sons' names? Did you give them
my
Italian names?
My oldest is actually, so I'm Enrico the third.
Okay.
And my oldest son, Ricky, is Enrico the fourth.
I love it.
And he did get to meet he had a great relationship with my grandfather, his great-grandfather,
Wow.
Enrico Sr. And my dad is still alive. So there's three of us. And then my youngest son's name is Andrew.
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, and is he the Andrew Salvatore?
Yes.
So you got it in there.
Yeah, that's he's named after my dad's brother, my uncle, who had passed away before my wife and I even met. So
Okay.
yeah, so there's some meaning behind it for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, how long have you been with South Portland?
I think I started here. It's amazing the years kind of blend together, but if I can remember correctly, I think I started here seasonally in the summer of 1994, which would have been right at the end of my sophomore year in college.
I hate to tell you this, but I wasn't even alive. I had to. I apologize.
Neither was one of the young men in the Bay either. So yeah.
Oh, good. But something's got to be going right for somebody to stick around that.
Yeah,
long.
I mean, we all get into this. Growing up in a community, in suburban America, you have parks and rec departments that facilitate programs and take care of the parks and athletic fields that we all play on as kids. And, as you go through high school, you see, some guys or folks that graduated ahead of you, and you see them out mowing lawns and mowing the athletic fields or doing whatever. And you're like, man, that's a really good summer job.
Oh, wow.
And
so it was on your radar as a young kid.
Yeah, I think once I got towards my senior year, I started kind of, noticing some of the folks that were a year or two ahead of me in school and seeing them out doing that stuff. And ironically, after my freshman year in college, Buddy and me actually worked for a landscaper out in Falmouth, Forsyth, which is a couple towns over, working on some very, very high-end homes along the waterfront here in Maine. making a solid $5 an hour.
Nice. That's typically how it goes.
And we worked anywhere from probably 45 to 60 hours a week. And for us, it was just, we were in college, we needed the money.
Yeah.
And then I really started to think about, geez, do I really want to go back to, working in those types of conditions, those types of hours? And I was able to get a seasonal position here. And growing up in a community like South Portland, the superintendent at the time, I had gone to school with not just one of his sons, but both of his sons.
Okay.
So there's a community connection with,
of course,
who was running these departments at that time, and knowing who the community kids are, and knowing their personalities and what their character is. So, and that trait has really continued to this day. One of the young men in the Bay, who's now is on his third season as a seasonal employee. I've known him since pretty much the day he was born.
Wow.
I've known his parents for a long time.
Yeah.
And I get two other seasonals that are coming in May that I actually coached them in basketball a few years ago. So, I mean, it's kind of bringing those types of, you already know what you're getting. You're not going out there blind, especially with the seasonal positions. I think those are the harder positions to fill, just because you really don't want to go through the hiring process or the interview process.
Yeah.
Because they're only here for a short period of time.
Yes.
And if you know who you're getting as a person, chances are, if you know that person and you know what they're about, you're able to kind of mold them and what you want out of them as an employee.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah. So
very cool.
But no, I from there I was in college. I reluctantly say that I went to college for all the wrong reasons, that's what everybody did.
Yeah. Matt and I were just talking about that.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to be a chemistry teacher. I went as a chemistry major at the University of Southern Maine. Did a semester or a year and a half of it, and I thought, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
I switched majors. I went to business, which is what everybody did.
Yeah.
When all else fails. That was a mistake. I eventually ended up on academic probation as somebody who graduated with honors from high school and took, AP classes their senior year. It was a shock to me and really kind of made me reflect on where I was in my life. And I to this day remember the conversation my father had with me. He goes, really, you got two choices. You either get a job or you go down to Southern Maine Community College, which is the community college located here in South Portland. And I said, well, I'm not ready to go into the workforce yet. I still need to figure out what I want to do. So I went there. I was there for 4 semesters. Graduated with an associate's degree in environmental science.
Okay.
And what I can say about the community college system, at least here in Maine, and I hope it's like this other places, it's sort of like an extension of high school.
Yeah.
With more accountability with it from the professors and instructors, because obviously we are, we're adults.
Yeah.
And they're trying to treat us like adults. But it was the hands-on. You were able to take what you learned in the classroom and apply it in a lab or in a real world setting.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost in a lot of what you're seeing with kids coming out of college. I don't think they get the practicums that they should be having when they get into the real world. They can tell you how to do certain things, but they don't necessarily have the experience of doing certain things.
Yeah.
When I look at what my youngest son is doing at Springfield College as a sports management major, he's already doing an internship.
Very cool.
He worked last summer with the Portland Sea Dogs in their ticket office. So he's got just enough real world experience, and he's got me as his father to bounce ideas off of and kind of see how things really operate in the real world, and then apply those to classroom and vice versa.
Definitely.
So yeah, once I got out of the Southern Maine Community College, I got a job working in an environmental lab.
Okay.
And I was basically taking aqueous and soil samples and extracting the analytes to be analyzed in the lab to see what levels of contamination that sites that were contracted out by the owner of the company to give contractors, builders reports on what the site contained. I did that for 6 months. Learned a lot. What I learned the most is that there were no windows in the lab.
Yeah.
And as somebody who loved being outside and had worked previously outside, I was going crazy. I was like being stuck in a jail cell with no window.
Truly.
Loved the people that I worked with. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And then I was able to come back as a seasonal employee here at the city. And I worked, that was probably August of 97. And then the following June, I got hired full time.
Okay, nice.
So, and I've been basically here the entire time. I did have a short stint where I left, went to the University of Southern Maine to be their assistant director of grounds.
Okay.
Good experience. Didn't work out. Had the opportunity to come back here in a different capacity, still within Parks and Recreation, but at a little bit higher level. And given that I knew what the operations were and who the landscape, the politics, it made it an easy decision to come back and kind of get things back up and running. And I haven't looked back since.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And then 2017 is when I moved from the Parks Department to the Recreation Department.
Okay.
So I went less hands. I went from hands-on to a little bit less hands-on. So as more of a facilities manager, overseeing the scheduling, which all goes through me for the fields, but also being able to help the crews out when we're in situations like what we're dealing now with the weather being what it is.
Well, yeah, painting a picture for anyone listening today, it's like doom and gloom outside today. It was like, well, yeah, Rick will have a minute to do a podcast today because there's no chance anyone's touching the fields the next couple of days. That's for sure.
Timing is everything.
But it was a beautiful day yesterday. I don't know if you guys had similar weather.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a little cool, but at this point in the game or the season we're looking at dry times. That's what we're trying to get in. And being on the coast in Maine, we know how cold it can get. If we were videoing this conversation, you'd see all the cold weather gear that we've got here, and because you do have to layer up out here. And just
I stopped at the LL Bean flagship because I was like, I've got to.
Yeah.
And they had like no summer clothes out yet. Like it was still winter hats.
Yes. Yeah.
Which tracks.
It's not unusual to experience 40, 50 degree temperatures last week of May, beginning of June.
Wild.
All of our weather is influenced by that big blue ocean out there.
Yeah.
And in the spring and summer, it keeps us cooler, but in the wintertime, it keeps us a little bit warmer than inland towns, obviously, because the ocean, gets no lower than about 37, 38 degrees.
Okay.
So it does play a role in our weather. On the positive note, especially during the summertime when we get into hot, humid conditions, we will get days where relative humidities get above 75 for consecutive days. But in all my time here, and we're about to start our 21st year of being open, we have never applied fungicides at all to any of our fields out here because of the vastness of the site. We get exposed to the wind in 360 degrees. We're really not lacking wind movement to dry out leaf tips in turf grass surfaces. Occasionally, we'll see a little bit here and there in some pockets of the facility, but nothing ever widespread where we felt that we had to come in with a fungicide to treat anything. So we're very fortunate in that aspect that we don't have to contend with that. So that is nice. But now,
are you South Portland born and raised or Maine born and raised?
I am.
Okay.
I am born and raised in South Portland. Went to school here. Played athletics here: baseball, basketball, soccer, golf. My senior year. Lived here for a little while. My wife and I started our family here in South Portland before we moved to the next town over in Cape Elizabeth.
Okay.
I coached here, coached basketball and baseball in this community before we moved to Cape Elizabeth. So there's a saying, as I'm sure there are a lot of sayings in communities around the country. You can take the person out of their town they grew up in, but you never take the town out of them. And that's kind of, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And I like that. I mean, I love where I live, where I live with my wife and family. It's a great community. It's quiet. But I still love being part of the community that I grew up in. I think if I do the math right, I'm fourth generation in the city, in this community. So,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So
that's incredible.
It's really it's been a good job. I like working here.
Yeah.
I early on in my career, I was like, do I want to take the plunge elsewhere? And really, when I sat and looked at all the variables, whether it was the scope of work, travel time, if it was a local move, impacts on family. At the end of the day, it just never seemed to kind of all come together. Fortunate that my wife, she does well in what she does. Her family's still here. My family has moved elsewhere. My parents are in Florida. My sister's in Florida, and I have a sister out in St. Louis. So we're kind of spread out in terms of immediate family. But no, I mean, it's my kids have had a good experience growing up here. Can't beat the summers.
Yeah, truly.
Love going to camp in the summertime. When we have a winter, it's Maine. It's going to snow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been good. I really haven't found anything that kind of compares to not only what I have, but what I've been able to do. I've been very, very fortunate that I've had a long line of directors, and there haven't been many of them, but of the 4 directors that I've worked under, from a seasonal to a full-time position, I've never been afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And I always back that ask up with reasoning. And I'm lucky that my original director really took a chance on me. I can remember in late '99, it might have even been January of 2000. The person I was working with decided to go work for a private contractor, and I felt he did it for all the wrong reasons. But either way, he did it, and they gave him 30 days to come back. He came back on day 31.
Oh my gosh.
And they said no.
Yeah.
And they pulled me into the office and said, "We just voted in a 150-acre recreational complex. We're going to build it.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think you can do this?" And I can remember my answer: just give me the chance.
Nice.
Give me the chance to fail. And I just looked at it as, this is the opportunity of a lifetime to put my name on something in a community that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And really put my mark on what at that point I knew I loved doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize then how much I was going to pour into what we've done. I mean, growing up in a community, we all get the chance to reflect on what our experiences were, good or bad. And I can tell you that, experiences athletically in terms of what we were playing on, they weren't great. Actually, they weren't even good. And I don't blame the people involved in making decisions or working on the. I just don't think they knew.
Yep.
And 25 years of doing this, 25 plus years of doing this, and seeing how things have evolved and things that have come to people's attention in terms of safety and playability, specifically to those things.
Yeah,
it's a huge thing that we consider when we're making decisions, whether it's agronomically or whether or not the game is actually going to be played. So, looking back at it now, I never thought I was going to kind of be where I am in this little bubble or little corner of the country. And I'm very, very fortunate. I've had, just great support. I'm a very passionate person. My current director, previous directors will tell you that. My heart is on my sleeve. But as I've said to groups in the past that think I'm a little over the top, I will look at them and say, sure, maybe I am.
Yeah.
But would you rather have somebody who cares too much than somebody who doesn't care enough?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm never going to be blamed for not caring enough. I said, I don't want that label. I would rather have it the other way.
Yeah.
And I think as I've gone through the years, I've learned.
Yeah.
If you had caught me 20 years ago, there'd probably be holes in the wall in the office with my frustration on certain things, as I'm sure most other people have experienced those types of days where they just wanted to break a bat over something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, it's learning how to manage not just the stress, but, pick your battles.
Yeah.
And keep the big picture in mind. And that's hard, I think, because when you see certain fields, everybody thinks that working on a professional field, that's got to be the greatest job in the world. They only got one field. I have minimal experience working on professional fields, and I've been doing so for the last 4 or 5. This is my 5th season as a part-time groundskeeper with the Portland Sea Dogs and my friend Jason Cook. I wouldn't want his job. I wouldn't want his job.
Yeah.
And not that, there's a lot that goes into these stadiums. And on the surface, they only got one field. They only have No, there's a whole other ball of wax that people don't see behind the scenes.
Of course, yeah.
And I know most people in the industry understand and appreciate that. And you got to find what's happy for you. And I can say honestly that working in the Parks and Rec industry and in a work-life balance, this has truly been a good fit for me.
Yeah.
I've been able to do a lot of different things, try a lot of different things. I've had a lot of opportunities to go around the country and meet. I mean, the networking.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in this industry survives without a strong networking background. I mean, you have to learn how to network and not be afraid to talk to people at the end of the day. I mean, I think in all the years I've been doing this, I was one person who's never, ever got back to me via email.
Yeah.
And
it was the guy who reached out for paving from Oregon.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I've said this before in the past to people, especially administrators, because 20 years ago, 2 or 3 of us community departments would borrow equipment from one another. And it kind of got out there that we were doing this kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
And I got called on it by somebody, and I said, well, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
Well, it's not ours. And I said, well, no, but we have somebody who has this. We're willing. They're letting us to borrow it. I said, together we have everything.
Yeah.
Individually, we don't have everything. And at that time, believe it or not, there was a governor in Augusta, in the capital, that was preaching regionalization of sources, putting resources together.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, God, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
This isn't rocket science. We established a network, a friendship with each other. There was 3 or 4 of us. And, there was equipment going back and forth all the time.
I love
and
it.
we were all doing really well with it. And the rule was, hey, if you broke it or whatever, then you repaired it.
Yeah.
It was, so, I mean, obviously
that's really the root of what I feel like has been your compass is that community. And community is obviously at the core of Parks and Rec. And so why deny it? And I think really at the core of this at this industry too is like, I think people might assume who are not in this industry, like, oh, this field, if they've got it right, they're not going to share it with that field, some pride about it. But really, I think we all garner pride from all of us succeeding.
I mean, for example, Jason Cook does at the Portland Sea Dogs is not necessarily what Rick Perruzzi is going to do at the Wainwright facility. But I will tell you that on a weekly basis, especially during the growing season, whether I'm there or not in person, we're talking constantly. The same thing with Mike DiDonato up in Wyndham. I mean, we're always, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And we're just talking about what's going on, and I've got this issue. What do you think? And that's the greatest resource of all.
Truly.
It really is. And Lance Tibbetts, he's down in Florida now, but Lance was one of the early, guys in my career that when I got to know him, I mean, we talked all the time. I mean, sometimes for a while there, it felt like we were talking daily about things. And because I was watching what he was doing over in the city of Westbrook. Okay. And actually, he became the first certified sports field manager in Maine. Oh, wow. And that's what kind of drove me to, I'm like, well, why can't I do that? Yeah. And went ahead and went through the process of getting that certification. And, the other component to where the way I look at working in the park and rec industry, it's a hard business or industry to break stereotypes. Yeah. Early on, parks was still is part of Public Works' collective bargaining unit, as it is in many places in the country. And, when I first started out, I was like, okay, I get it, but we have such a specialized set of skills. I wanted to break that mold. Yeah. I didn't want to be the guy who was thought of just mowing grass and painting lines. Yeah. So when it goes back to the building credibility, but also having accountability at the same time, when I went to ask for things, I made sure that I did my research. I just wasn't going into my boss's office shooting from the hip to say, I want this because I want it. Yeah, I gave reasons. Green. Yeah. And it's hard. I think it's still hard at times to make people understand that we are professionals. Yeah. And we take our craft serious. We're learning every day. And we have to continue to learn. I think the biggest mistake, if anybody coming into the industry if I could tell them one thing, is don't stop learning. Yeah. And that has been conveyed multiple times by multiple people within the industry. You can't ever stop learning or stop asking questions. The day you stop doing that, you might as well just, in my opinion, you should move on. Yep. Because you're not, your heart's not in it anymore. Yeah. I tell all my seasonals when they come in, I said, after a month, you'll never look at a field the same way. Truly, yeah. I said, when you go to a baseball game or a football game, I said, your eyes are immediately going to be drawn to that surface. Yeah. And you're going to start picking things out. Sure enough. I love it. I had a young man that worked for me last year. He was at the University of Connecticut, turf grass student. He took a picture of the guy, of the head groundskeeper for the Yankees, hosing down the skinned area. Nice. And I told you. Yeah. So, I mean, it's those are the moments that I enjoyed. It's kind of like, yeah, okay. So they were listening, even though they didn't seem like they were listening. As 19-year-old kids, they're still listening. So well, you've had quite a few of those like folks who came and worked under you during that very pivotal point, and who now like you can probably point out on a map and be like, look at all the places they've gone. I think of all the things that I thought would never happen. That would have been one of them. Yeah. I mean, again, it kind of goes back to who actually gets into these positions within the public service, especially on the boots on the ground. And to think of the people that I've worked with and have gone on to bigger and greater things. Jason Cook, I've mentioned, from Portland Sea Dogs. He's done a phenomenal job over there for the last, 8, 9, 10 years. Ryan Bajorn, who's now at the Patriots, he worked here one season, but he was here during one of our most pivotal summers when we hosted part of the Region 1 Youth Soccer Championships. Very cool. I had another individual. He was a golf course person. He got out of the industry when he came on, because we were struggling to try to find help. He says, "I don't want to mow." Nice. Not a problem. I've got plenty of other things to do besides mowing. Well, within a month, he was on the mower, and he was mowing in the patterns. Actually, that pattern you see up on the wall there on the baseball field. And actually, I ran into, I always forget his last name. I think it's Barney Lopez. He used to be, I don't know if he might still be with the Angels or not. I actually showed him that picture, and he was very impressed that my guy did that. But he left here and actually ended up down at the University of Miami and
Okay.
was taking care of their baseball and practice football and soccer stadium fields.
Okay, very cool.
So he's since stepped away from that and is now working in the private sector. But yeah, to think that I've got 3 or 4 folks that have gone on to do things like that at that level.
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I did something right somewhere along the way.
Yes, yeah.
It wasn't,
I can attest.
I wasn't completely full of crap when I was talking. So
I love that.
yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of conveying information to people, it's common sense. I try not to make it any more difficult or complicated than what it is. Hiring former athletes is a big part of who I look for, especially on the seasonal side of it.
Yeah.
Because they understand the tendencies of athletes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether they played baseball or played football. They could be a hockey player. They understand footing.
Yeah.
And I think they can relate to it without actually knowing what they're saying. At least they can relate to a good surface versus a bad surface.
Yeah.
So they gain a quick appreciation for what it is that we're trying to do as full-time staff to ensure that the fields are at the levels that we want them at.
That easy buy-in. Well, I say easy, but it's like you need it. You've got to have people on your crew that buy into the bigger picture.
I couldn't have said it better. I have had instances where I've said to people, if you're going to treat this like a job, there's the door. And it sounds arrogant, I'm sure. But at the same time, when you have deadlines every single day, and you're not bought in to what it is that you're trying to do as a crew, as a unit, then we can do more without you. Because you're going to be a hindrance more than you're going to be an asset. And that's just, that's some people's, that's how the way they look at it. And, it is what it is, and we move on. Don't hold it against them. It's just, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So,
I could tell you, I wouldn't last one day on a crew.
Oh, yeah, you should. Of course you could. Yeah.
I think I would have the buy-in, but I would rather be the cheerleader than the one actually out there doing it. That's for sure. And I think I found myself in quite the perfect position to do so. I joke that I'm like the groundskeeper's publicist. Like, I don't have to be out there mowing, but I will make sure all those stories are out there for others.
I mean,
to know.
I think to give you props. I mean, when I told the guys that you were coming by today, they're like, Rick, you're doing a podcast? I mean, because I'm looked at as the dad of the crew. At 51 years old, I've got a 20-something there, and he's looking at me like, you're doing a podcast? I'm like, well, yeah,
Joe Rogan's coming in town.
Yeah, that's probably who they thought, yeah. But no, what you've done, in the short time you've been here, it's really been incredible to see you get that message out and to see it expand. I mean, love what you guys do at the show. I apologize that I didn't stick around. I was tired from walking the trade show.
I hear you, man.
And I heard it was a long day for you guys, so.
Matt is famous for that, where he's like, oh, all my guys are here in one place. Let me get them. And I'll be like, I've been talking for 12 hours straight. Like, you needed to be on my calendar 7 months ago if you wanted this spot. But no, I think that this industry it's just so special to find that if you are the type of person that, has that network and can jive within that group, it's like, why would you go anywhere else? I mean, it's really special.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have egos, but I think more importantly is that we're our own worst enemies. And we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I don't think I've really met anybody. I mean, I've been going to conferences dating back to 04, 05, which was Phoenix, I think was my first one.
Oh, cool.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not in this industry to get rich. We're in it because we love to give back. It's a form, depending on what level, it's still, a level of service. But yeah, I mean, I really can't sit there and say, why is that person in this industry? I mean, the 99.9% of the people I've met over the years have been 100% genuine. Yeah. And there's a passion I see people that get burnt out in jobs, or have. I watched what my wife went through because she's a commercial lender when the SBA loans and all that stuff during COVID, and watching the stuff she was going through. And I was like, I don't know if she's going to make it through this process.
Yeah.
I mean, we have moments of that in this industry, like, whether it's weather or an event, but we always find a way to push through it.
Yeah.
We always find a way to think outside the box. The people that live off clipboards, good luck to you. I don't see it working out.
Yeah.
Because you can have a plan all day long, but eventually that plan's going to go sideways, and you've got to adjust on the fly. That's another piece of advice that I usually give people that are looking to get into the industry. I said, if you're going to live off a piece of paper, and I've met people who've done it for an entire career, I said it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Because it's not always going to. More times than not, it's not going to go your way.
Definitely.
It's how you adjust. It's how you're able to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Utilize the resources, not physical resources, but mental resources around you to collectively come up with a way to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Because I really do think at the end of the day, we're sometimes, I don't like to call us firemen. We don't want to put fires out.
Yeah.
But I think we're really good problem solvers.
Definitely.
Because more times than not, it seems like we're trying to solve a problem or overcome an obstacle. And I think sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it until we look back and go, oh, yeah, that was kind of a mess. We skated on that one, didn't we? And you kind of joke about it. But at the time, you're so focused on completing that task and providing the service that you want to provide that you're just focused on what you need to do to get done.
Well, do you think that's what really helps you through those moments when it's like it all clicks and it's, this aha, like we thought outside of the box, we found the solution, like it gets you through to that next challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I tell, especially my seasonal guys, you're going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes.
Yep.
The question is whether or not you're going to learn from those mistakes.
Yep.
God knows I've made my share of mistakes. I made a mistake yesterday, and we have a running joke. It's called we issue violations.
Nice.
I had a violation yesterday. I didn't even know I did it.
Nice.
And I stole that one. I give props to Jason Cook because that's really his term.
I love it.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's when you get to that point, I mean, I'm a very analytical person anyway. So I'm always looking at it from an angle of, okay, what's the problem? What are our options? And I'm a diplomatic leader. I'm not a democratic leader.
Yeah.
And as much as people think sometimes I'm a dictator, I really truly rely on what these guys think out in the Bay.
Yeah.
And ultimately the buck stops with me. But when you have different people in a crew, they have different skill sets, things that they're really good at. So I'm looking for input to try to collectively come together and fix a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is rewarding when you overcome an issue or a problem, something that you didn't see coming or have to worry about or expect. And I mean, I think it was 2 years ago, I decided to run string off from the table of the mound down to the grass line to try. I really wanted to dial in the slope.
Okay.
And so I'm like, man, this makes all the sense in the world. And fast forward to the conference in where were we? Daytona. I'm watching the kid from the Marlins. He does the same damn thing.
Nice.
I said, I thought I came up with it. I talked to him and I said, I couldn't believe something just popped into my head one day and I said, why can't I do this? And I said, it was really cool to see that you do this every single day. I said, hats off to you. I said, I think that's awesome that you're able to do that.
Incredible.
So it's little things like that some people look at you and they go, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. that's what gets
But when you talk to people in the industry, like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So it's it's kind of a cult, but it's a very positive cult in terms of.
I agree. And what about like being in Parks and Rec and that community and like seeing? I mean, your user groups are so unique. Like, does that really help push the need? Like when the days are long, or you're sitting here in winter, like, it do those moments really keep it alive for you?
So, yeah, I think early on it was an educational process. When people used to say you're putting the screws to us. You're being too restrictive and this and that. I'd say, look, time out. I went to school here. I grew up here. I coached here. I played here. I have no agenda to do anything to you that's going to be, harmful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are the reasons why I'm doing it. And especially with coaches. Coaches are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
And you have to break sometimes coaches from their habits because of the impacts they have on certain aspects of the playing fields. So in the early days, the educational part was tough.
Yes.
And for them to look at us as we are part of the process. Mm-hmm. You can't do what you want to do without us, and we're not going to have a job without you.
Yeah.
So instead of doing this, fighting, bumping heads, let's work together to try to figure it out. And it was tough in the early on. I mean, I'm in my mid 20s, and I'm trying to go toe to toe with a football coach that's won 3 or 4 state championships and is an icon in the state. Yeah, I'm not going to win that battle.
Yeah.
But I looked at the opportunities as the coaching tree changed. Got more involved with putting messaging out there about, this is why we're doing this, and this is why I'm asking you to do this, and just trying to educate people on, I get what you want to do, but this is what we're trying to do. This is your facility. Your tax dollars pay for this facility.
Yep.
So if you want to beat it beyond the point of repair, we're going to be right back to where we started.
Yeah.
We can work together. So anyway, I mean, it's gotten a lot better in the last, I'd say, 5 to 7 years. Groups or the boards that have a high turnover rate, like Little League, youth soccer boards, high turnover rate. So as those board members come in, new ones come in, they're hearing from the older ones, some of who are now at the point in my life where even the people I went to school with are moving on because their kids are getting older. So I'm getting a generation of parents that I don't even know that may not even be from this community. And they don't know what we had 30 plus years ago in this community because what we do here at this facility, we couldn't do a tenth of it without this facility right now. So I don't know where we'd be. So when they come in and they're getting now feedback from the people that I know and have had great relationships with, it's so much easier now.
Nice.
Because they're reaching out, they're understanding, they get what we're trying to do, what we're trying to provide. So it's come full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
And so it's been nice. Conversations are a lot less intense. Mm-hmm. They're more understanding, and believe it or not, sometimes I'm willing to do a little bit more because you're not going to come at me.
Yeah.
I won't, I'm not going to, put the wall up and say, you're only getting the bare minimum because I've got other people that are treating us a lot better and understanding what we're doing. Yeah. And we're going to give you what's required, but we're not going to go above and beyond if you're going to treat us, like the way you're treating us now. So, the last 5 years or so, it's been really good, and I think in the end it works out best for everybody.
Definitely.
But the education part it can be frustrating, because when you start out, and it doesn't matter what profession it is, but when you're trying to provide service, and there's got to, and when there's some give and take, but when you're the service provider, at least for me, I wanted everybody to do it my way. And my way. My way.
I can relate to that, yes.
And there was no negotiation. It was going to be this way.
Yeah.
Well, those conversations obviously didn't go well.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of resistance. Instead of now, okay, what's the objective? Mm-hmm. What's the best way to go about it? Is this going to impact you? Is it going to impact us as a crew? Look at all the variables that are going to go into what we're trying to achieve and figure out the best way to do it. An example is we started putting AstroTurf mats on the pitcher's mound for baseball practice.
Okay.
And my compromise to the baseball coach was, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep moisture in the clay. I want to not do clay work every single day because I know you're going to do PFPs, you're going to do bunt situations, you're going to do first and thirds, pickoffs. I said, I get it. Can we try this? And he goes, sure, we can try this. Fast forward 4 weeks, I walk out one day and they're throwing live off the mat.
Nice, nice.
In a simulated game.
Yeah.
I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I never thought, because my general rule of thumb was, unless you're throwing live, that was going to stay on the mound.
Yeah.
But they were going live, simulated game off the AstroTurf. I'm like, you guys are my new best friends.
Yeah.
So it's being in it long enough and being seasoned, you tone down the rhetoric and just kind of focus on what are we trying to do, what's going to work best for everybody without pulling away from what coaches are trying to do, especially the varsity level coaches. I never want to impact their practices. I want to try to give them as much as they need within reason, but not as much to impact what we're trying to do because their focus is here and our focus is way out here.
Yeah.
So it's trying to cover both of those without impacting operations.
Definitely. So Enrico Perruzzi, did I say that again?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you very much are legacy all on your own. Third generation, you have a fourth Enrico Perruzzi. But what do you really hope your legacy here in South Portland in this industry is? When you think of whether it's people that have come through your program and talk back about it, or people you've met at conference, or just the community members here, what do you hope they receive from your dedication to this community?
I think within the department, my hope is when I do walk out the door for good, that I've set a standard in terms of what the community needs.
Yeah.
I would really be disappointed if they kind of went backwards. I kind of consider myself sort of an enigma because even though my job position is within recreation and it's not so much on the front lines, but I do get out and help.
Yeah.
Usually this time of year, I'm not even in my office. I'm not in here till 3:00. Thank God for cell phones to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think, within the department, in terms of me, when I do, get done, that they'll look to bring somebody in with maybe not so much passion, but understanding and appreciation for the standards that we've set, and then they continue that.
Yeah.
I've never been one to, get the pat on the back, attaboy. It's not me.
Yeah.
It's not me. Maybe secretly we all enjoy that and we all go into our little space and good for me, I don't know. But I'd like to think I'm somewhat humble in regards to that because at the end of the day, again, what I said earlier, I know what I played on. I don't want a kid having a bad experience,
of course,
and not continue to play athletics because of one bad experience.
Yeah.
I had a superintendent that said to me one time when I was talking about, I think it was the baseball field, and she said to me, she goes, well, it's not Fenway Park. And I go, yeah, you're right. It's not Fenway Park. I said, 34,000 people are not going to show up to watch this game.
Yeah.
But don't sit there and tell me that these kids don't deserve to play on the same type of field as a professional baseball player who, by the way, is getting paid.
Yeah.
I said that argument makes no sense to me.
You just lost with me, yeah.
Okay? Because you're saying that a professional ball player is more important than a 9-year-old kid who's trying to learn how to play the game.
This is their Fenway Park.
I said, that holds no water with me. So, that's what I want.
Yeah.
In terms of the community, now I think they truly do. There's a higher percentage of people that truly appreciate not just what we do, but who we are.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have relationships with all sorts of people in the community, user groups and residents. but they have somebody in place where they don't have to worry about what's going to be going on out there. They know that Rick and the crew are going to figure out a way to get it done, as we always have. I remember my first director said to me one day, I think I went in his office and I was just cooked. Like I was like at the end of my rope. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to take care of this place. And he looked at me and he said, you know why I go to bed? You know how I go to bed every night? And I go, no. He goes, do you think I worry about this place? And I'm like,
you should.
No. He goes, no, I don't. He goes, you know why? Because I know you worry about it every night. He goes, I don't have to worry about it every night. He goes, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. He goes, I'm here to help you get to where you want to be. We'll figure it out together. He said, but he goes, I know when I go to bed every night, I don't have to worry about Wainwright because Rick worries about it.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't explain how I got here in regards to that feeling. But I think, within the community, it's just, I hope I know there's an appreciation, and I hope that appreciation continues, that they have somebody within their community that they're paying to be employed here, cares about what their kids and adults, are utilizing.
A Rick Perruzzi lighthouse wouldn't hurt either.
You got enough lighthouses in Maine. I don't know.
What's one more?
Yeah. No, I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. It seems weird. It doesn't seem like it's been as long as it has been, but like I said earlier, I still love doing what I do where I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. It's not a hindrance. I'm not living as close to. I live 5 minutes away. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've taken less work home for me in those 3 years than I probably did in a week's worth when I first started out.
Wow, yeah.
I was bringing a lot of work home with me. And my wife is, her father was a farmer. Mm-hmm. He worked long hours. And, she gets it. Yeah. She understands that there's, level of commitment that goes outside of the normal working hours. Yeah. And I've never been afraid to, go above and beyond, because whether it was saving us a headache down the road or because it was the right thing to do. Yeah. And I think that's hard for some people to understand sometimes is, why did you do that? It's because it was the right thing to do. Yeah. It just made sense. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yep. All right, last question for you. This is how we typically conclude. Who are you outside of the job? What are the things that, you love to do, whether it's things with the family or what do you love to listen to, watch? What are the things that you're really enjoying outside of the job right now?
Well, my wife and I just got done watching the 3rd season of The Bear.
Okay, chef.
We got sucked into that a couple weeks ago. I asked my youngest son to put it on while he was on a spring break. I go, I want to see if this is worth the hype. It was. Nice. Cousin, yes, it was. It was good.
I love it. So who's your who do you relate to most? Who would you be in the kitchen? As a worker,
I gotta say, I in my early days, I was definitely Carmy.
Okay.
I mean, just very. We got to get this done. We got to go. We got to go. Somebody had said to me that Richard grows on. He definitely is grown on me.
Oh my gosh!
I think I'm more him now.
Yes, that's Carmy. Who I would have said for you.
Delegating, helping, jumping in when needed.
Leading the experience.
Passion
and flair.
We got into that, and she's bummed she's got to wait till June to watch the season 4, but we're looking forward to that.
It's coming back already in June. That's what they say.
What it says. Yep.
Okay, incredible.
I mean, music. I listen to anything from. My grandfather loved big band music, so I mean I've got a couple of Dean Martin and a couple Benny Goodman, but a Van Halen fan. But when I have my AirPods in, when I'm out with Pandora, I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks.
Okay,
I kinda
very cool. I like that.
remove the words and just focus on the music and just
That's very cool.
I don't know. I just kind of it's been probably since I was a kid. Growing up a Star Wars fan, there's something about the music and movies that can motivate you and get you over the
really
hump sometimes. So yeah.
I love that. Well, I was hoping you'd say Noah Kahn because he had an entire album titled Cape Elizabeth. And he has a song called Maine, and he has a song called Northern Attitude, which is all about like, hey, I haven't seen the sun in 7 months. Like, forgive me, but I'm not going to be
7 days.
Yeah. But I'll say, I don't think that you have that. Like, I would say you're a sunny disposition on life.
I mean, being in an industry where your world revolves around the weather, it definitely helps when the sun is shining and the grass is green. But I would not hesitate to say that I do enjoy a small fraction of the downtime.
Yeah.
Living in this part of the country, we have the peaks and valleys are higher and lower because of being in the Northeast. Versus, in the South where it's more, the ebbs and flows aren't as severe. So I enjoy the downtime.
Yeah.
But honestly, when we come back from conference, that's when I'm kind of like, all right, I'm ready to go.
It's right. Yeah, it's go time.
It's been long enough.
It's that reset.
Yeah. And I mean, traveling, all the conferences I've been to, get some really cool places within the country. I have a camp on Sebago Lake, which is about 30 minutes north of here. It's a family camp. My grandmother, who just passed away a couple of years ago at 100,
Oh my goodness.
It's been in the family for over 100 years.
So you guys, it's like a Perruzzi camp.
No, it's on my mom's side.
Okay.
But it's been in my mom's family for over 100 years, and
very cool.
It's a really nice spot.
Nice.
Not an ocean guy. Even growing up on the coast of Maine, it's too damn cold.
Yeah.
So I'm a lake person, and then traveling. We having family in Florida makes it easy to go. We just kind of when COVID hit, kind of put the brakes on some stuff. There's a ton of things that we would love to have done or hope to do with the kids at some point, whether it's with them as individuals or as they begin to start their own families. But that's a long way off. They're still young. Still young. It's just sometimes it seems like in the last few years we've been going, obviously our lives have been turned upside down, especially my son's. But we're fortunate to live where we live, to have what we have for resources. And as awful as the experience has been for my son and for me and my wife, there's been a lot of positives, especially in the medical care experience that he's gone through. And so we're very, very fortunate in that respect. And we've just kind of to sit there in your professional life and say, hey, it's one day at a time. To now have that in our personal life, dating back 2.5 years ago, where people would didn't matter whether it was family members or non-family members, ask about stuff, and we're like, we don't know. We're taking each day as it comes. Yeah. And we're going to treat each day individually, and we will do what whether it's him or just whatever we have going on. I'm not going to say it was a downshift. It was more of just a diversion. Yeah,
reset. Yeah.
We had to divert our focus, and it's honestly, it's going to be. My wife and I have talked about this. It's going to be weird after 2.5 years of, wait, he doesn't have treatment.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. So. Like I said earlier, we're looking forward to going across the pond for the first time. My son doesn't know that yet, so hopefully he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yes. Oh goodness! I mean, we're like chart toppers, so he's not gonna be able to avoid this. Oh my gosh, we just ruined the surprise.
Hey, you never know. He did work here for one summer, so he knows all about the pioneer world. So.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, no. I mean, we're just kind of going forward. That's all.
Yep.
That's all we can do.
Wheels up.
Yeah, just thankful for everything
Definitely.
at this point. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's terrible of a story. It's also a beautiful one. I'm really happy to hear that he's nearing the end of that terrible journey. So.
Yep.
And we'll all be celebrating, like I said, when you guys.
I appreciate it.
Get to that second week in May? You said
May 18th.
Nice.
Yep.
What a beautiful day! You need to go take those numbers to the
Yeah, I
casino.
know, right? Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, we're actually staying at the casino one night, so
nice.
Springfield.
Nice. So. Oh goodness! Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate you doing this.
No, thanks for stopping by. This was great. Happy you could stop in. So nice surprise.
And all sunshine skies ahead for South Portland.
I hope so. We're getting there. I think by next week we'll be okay. But yeah, it's a little gloomy right now, but we'll be okay.
We brought the sunshine to the office.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Rick.
All right, you're welcome.